This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. Today, of course, November 11th, Remembrance Day, and I want to take a second here as we get set for this video to pause and thank somebody I know that watches the channel pretty regularly, and of course, a good friend of mine up in Cold Lake who's supported me through a lot more than just YouTube, I'll tell you that much. So Kevin, a member of the Canadian Armed Forces up in Cold Lake there, a good buddy of mine, I want to say thank you for your service to our country on this Remembrance Day. And of course, I'll take a second to remember everybody who has sacrificed their lives in defending our country and defending our freedoms as a country. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into today's topic. NBC, obviously we're getting closer to hockey season, and well, that means power rankings start coming back available. And as I said, NBC putting something out today now. I have to kind of prerequisite this with some stuff that we did last year ahead of the 2019-2020 NHL season, and that is the NBC rankings for that year, in which they ranked the Oilers 28th out of 31 teams. Now, if you may remember, the Oilers were at minimum a top 24 team because there they were finding themselves in the NHL playoffs in Edmonton, the bubble situation, and of course the fun that was the 4 games against the Chicago Blackhawks that year. But what I need to really get to you is just simply, right, is get you kind of the situation of where we were at that point. We're going into kind of a season that was probably just as much of an unknown as the year previous, right? That's fair to say. But the Oilers end up being a top 12 team in the NHL last year, and well, they were ranked by NBC at what I called an embarrassing power ranking for the Edmonton Oilers, and overall an embarrassing power ranking list for NBC and their staff because of where they had also ranked the Arizona Coyotes. Well, you know what? That was also the day Philip Broberg signed, by the way. Don't forget that. But now, I'll flash this on the screen. I've got it in red line on my screen right now. We are ranked number 10 entering the year, and this is solid, all right? I believe last year they said the Oilers did not add enough pieces, did not address enough issues, did not fix anything that was broken from the year previous. Well, my friends, the question was last year going in goaltending, we got goaltending, all right? We did not get terrible goaltending. We did not get okay goaltending. We got pretty good goaltending for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I'm not saying league-wide. I'm saying the Edmonton Oilers last year, Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen were a pretty good tandem compared to what we're used to out of our goaltenders the past 10 or so years. So number 10 this year, the Oilers land on the NBC Power Rankings list, and this is, well, now I'm going to give them a glowing review because the Oilers are a top 10 team in more minds than just mine, all right? And that's great, that's good, that's gold. The Oilers, who added Tyson Barrie, Kyle Turris, Dominic Cahoon, were all fantastic pickups that can greatly improve the team's depth around its 2 MVPs, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, at a minimal price. But will the goaltending be good enough? Guys, we've addressed this one many a times, and here's the question. Will goaltending be good enough for the Oilers to be a top 10 team in the NHL? You tell me. Will the Oilers play in an all-Canadian division? If so, goaltending just has to be average and we walk away with the thing. No doubt about it, because you know what? We've got the offense to do it, and I'm sorry, a lot of other teams in Canada, they've either got really good goaltending, but are they due for an off year? That's possible, right? So when I talk about really good goaltending, is Jacob Markstrom going to be as extravagant, as excellent as he was in Vancouver and Calgary? Depends what the team plays like in front of him. What about Freddie Anderson in Toronto? Depends what Toronto's defense does. What about Connor Hellebuyck in Winnipeg? Depends what Winnipeg gets out of their goalies. Does Braden Holtby rebound? Can Thatcher Demko get the job done in Vancouver? Who knows? What about Montreal? Carey Price and Jake Allen, are they good enough? Well, Carey Price, if he plays fewer games, should be, but hey, every goalie's due for an off year. And what do they got in Ottawa? Matt Murray and Anders Nielsen? Well, guys, problem is, that's a tandem similar to ours. right? Similar to ours. I think you can argue Matt Murray and Anders Nielsen is very similar to ours. So you look at the goaltending across the NHL in Canada, yeah. You know what? The Oilers goaltending is good enough to be a top 10 team in the NHL in an all-Canadian division. And you know what? Maybe we end up probably seeing the same situation we did last year at worst. That's what I'm saying. At worst, we see a 12th place out of 31 teams finish for the Oilers this season across the entire board. That's just where I'd sit comfortable. Now, am I going out and being bold that the Oilers are a top 10 team? Yes, they should be. 100% based on what we've got, what we've added. As a regular season team, this team should be a powerhouse top third of the league team to potentially top 5 team if everything goes right and the goaltending really kicks into gear and gets going. But end of the day, yes, I understand it. And I mean, this is just kind of more concrete evidence that the real question about the Oilers is not on defense, not on forward depth, not on anything except for goaltending. That's the only thing you and me and the experts can agree on when it comes to the concern of the Oilers. The experts seem very convinced the Oilers defense can hold steady. I say if Caleb Jones can take that top 4 spot, they're going to be just fine. The Oilers forward depth, nobody has a question about that anymore. That's not even a concern. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, that was a major concern. This year, shirt up, perfect, bing bang, boom, done, no problem at all. And that's even after releasing Andres Athanasiou from the Oilers after 9 games. Like, this is crazy kind of how the conversation spins on its head so quickly, is you all of a sudden had just problem, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, all over the Oilers entering the 2019-2020 season. And now this year you've got maybe one red flag and maybe one yellow flag if you're worried about the defense at worst. So that's the interesting part when this gets to it, is it's nice to see the Oilers getting a proper ranking this year. I'm not saying this holds true because quite clearly the 28 out of 31 ranking did not hold true last year. It simply didn't. The only thing that held true from that video is that Philip Broberg is still an Edmonton Oiler. Thank goodness. And, well, right? Look at that. Okay, so the Oilers were 28 out of 31. This year, 10 out of 31. And that's solid. I'm very happy with that. That is excellent to see. And it gives us kind of that shot in the arm that, you know what, the Oilers, we should get our hopes up this year. If NBC, the American network, is getting their hopes up about the Oilers, well, I think we can afford to get our hopes up. And I'll tell you, the Oilers are the only Canadian team on the Power Rankings list. They come in at number 10, the Penguins at 9, the Hurricanes at 8, Stars at 7, Capitals at 6. You've got the Blues at 5, the Bruins at 4, the Golden Knights a top 3 club, the Avalanche second, and the Tampa Bay Lightning comfortably taking home the number 1 spot after winning a Stanley Cup. Now, does everything hold true? Well, I think in a COVID year, in a weird regular season where you're going to see divisional play, so you're playing your division foes pretty much every single night, you'll be lucky if you play anyone else this regular season, is the fact that, yeah, it's going to get ugly, it's going to get messy, and there's going to be injuries, and it's going to be a battle of whoever's depth is best. And I would best compare it to the situation we found ourselves in with the Toronto Blue Jays season, right? Look at how many players had to come up, fill spots, get the job done at the MLB level for every MLB team this year to get the job done. Well, you look at Tampa Bay, my goodness, look at how many guys they used and look at where they ended up to where they started kind of deal. And you think about the Miami Marlins, the Toronto Blue Jays are a good example. They're not a prime example, but they're a good example of exactly what the NHL will end up looking like in terms of you're playing a limited set of opponents. You've got to have the depth. You've got to be able to run with kind of the ebbs and flows of the season, because you are going to have highs, you are going to have lows in a shortened season, but you got to be able to stamp out both and just be consistent all the way to the end of the season. And now that we're talking about January 1 officially, right, we're officially on watch for January 1. This is no longer a floated idea. This is, you've got every NHL reporter in Canada saying Thursday, tomorrow, January 1 is going to really become the big target. And obviously, because of that, we have to move quickly. And here you have the NBC Power Rankings coming out as another sign that hockey's coming back soon. And man, it's a good sign the Oilers might be very good this year as well. Now, mind you, somebody go get me the Power Rankings from 2017's offseason and tell me where the Oilers were ranked and where we finished. And maybe these NBC rankings are kind of a curse or a reverse curse or some kind of deal. Maybe, right? You get where I'm going. This isn't where we want to be on this Power Rankings list. Maybe I want to be 31 out of 31. I don't know. That's my question to you. Somebody go do that research for me and show me what's up. You know what, everybody? There's a lot more knowledgeable Oilers fans out there than me. So somebody's going to dig this up, tell me what's up, and it's going to be gorgeous. So guys, that is it. That is all. The Power Rankings, we come in number 10 this year. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition. We'll have more a little bit later on this evening. I'm sure there will be some Oilers news sometime around 5 o'clock. Guys, I am up on out of here.